G'day, Paul Brennan, Bring Our Birds Home. It is Thursday, May 25th. Let's have another video update. It's been about a week or so since the previous one. In the past week, I've sort of been treading water, waiting for crucial information to come in, waiting to hear from Brazil as to whether or not we can make an offer for that beautiful DC-8 ZK NZC at Manaus Airport. Waiting to hear from Infraero, the airport company. Nothing yet, but it can't be too far away. Also waiting to hear back from the Cuban embassy in Wellington regarding my approach to the ambassador to get dialogue underway on how we can reclaim the only Air New Zealand DC-10 left on the planet, currently derelict at Havana Airport in Cuba. As Mrs. Marsh used to say in that ad with the chalk, it does get in. I will get in, I will get a meeting, and that will be progressed. I am committing to that. Also, some good information has come through about the 737 ZK NQC. And that's the one that you see featured here on the video playing in the background, which has come off the shelves after 21 years of sitting there in my film library. Mike Rathbone, the cameraman, shot this for me back in 1995, the changeover from passenger to cargo configuration. Great to have that footage in the library, and fantastic to have an opportunity to bring it out and to digitize it and get it on the Facebook page for everyone to see, bringing back memories. But we do know now the maintenance status pretty well of that aircraft. We know that it needs new undercarriage in about a year. That's expensive. We know that it probably needs some airframe modification. That could be expensive. And we know that the engines will have to be overhauled at some point. If they come off and they're opened up, any modifications mandated since the previous overhaul will also have to be incorporated, adding to cost. Point being that we could be seeing the end of the commercial life of NQC approaching quite rapidly, and we're in a sort of sweet spot where it can still fly, yet it's finished its commercial life, affecting its value. So we know how much it's worth if it doesn't have any commercial activity left, and we know how much it costs approximately to fly the aircraft back out to New Zealand. So an opportunity to get hold of NQC could come sooner than later. So watch that space. The 747, I mentioned, I think, in the previous video update, we'd heard back from the owner of the company that owns that aircraft that's leasing it to Wamos Air in Spain. Ron Moya is the head of the company in Florida. He's got back to us, and he's told us the time frame of that aircraft remaining in service with Wamos. We know how long that is approximately, and we know probably why it will end after that period of time with a major check due. And the question for the owners will be, do they spend the multiple millions doing the major check to give it another 8 years of service, or do they take it out of service at the end of this period? It's possible they will retire it, because most 747 passenger jets are being retired, even types with plenty of hours left on them. So Ron knows about the Bring Our Birds Home campaign. He knows why we are interested in the specific aircraft, this 419, made for Air New Zealand, and the final Air New Zealand passenger plane in service anywhere in the world. And we hope to be in the queue for first right of refusal of that airframe when the time comes. And as I say, we sort of know the approximate time span that we can expect. And we're also waiting to hear back from the Canadian CAA. We're making inquiries, let me put it that way, as to whether there will be a mandatory grounding of the Electra that used to be ZKTEB after a certain amount of years, i.e. its total age. Not so much its cycles or its hours flown, but its age. There comes a point where the manufacturer's guarantees of maintenance can't keep up with the deterioration of the airframe past a certain age point, in which case usually the Civil Aviation Authority will ground the type permanently. Now, if that is looming, we need to know, because that affects its ability maybe to do that final flight, and also will give us a time frame as to how long that aircraft will remain as a water bomber with Buffalo Airways in Canada before it becomes available. And again, we hope to be first in the queue. I guess the big accomplishment so far is this, that before we came along, the future of these 5 airframes were uncertain. Once the ones that were flying had finished their life, and of course the 2 derelict ones, they had no future potentially if we didn't come along. Now that we've come along and started this campaign, got the information and made the relationships, and we've progressed the relationships quite well without actually physically visiting them so far, the people involved, the future of these airframes is a whole lot more secure than it was. And that is a great thing as far as I'm concerned. Now, our donations are sitting just under 4K. There's been a plateauing in the past week or so. By the way, our Give a Little page can stay open for many months if we want. And I suspect if we have some compelling reasons to call for money to actually purchase airframes that suddenly become available, we have a base big enough and active enough now who would go a long way to supporting us having to make those moves. So already we've got enough in the can to go to Brazil, another K or two, and we're going to Cuba as well. Those are the two main priorities. The other aircraft, we sort of know their status, waiting to have clarification on the Electra, but the other aircraft, the owners know we are interested in them, they know why, and they're sitting out there. We've got time to maneuver for those. So far, so good. The idea of saving these aircraft is not such a distant, somewhere off in the distant idea now. It's a lot more of a reality than it was. That's thanks to your help, your donations so far, and your support. So thank you for supporting Bring Our Birds Home. That is the latest update. Hope you've been enjoying some of the footage that we've been playing, and also great to see you engaging with the images of the liveries. My brother James has supplied those great visuals for retro jets using the 787. I wish Air New Zealand would do a retro jet. They're so cool. And of course the livery from that far back, the 60s and 70s, graphically very cool from that era as well. I think it would be a very good publicity move, make people feel warm and fuzzy about nostalgia, and just shows the history of the airline. But anyway, that's up for them to decide, and surely some of them have seen those pictures, so you never know. And thank you to those who've been sending images in that we've been displaying as well. Really appreciate that. So we'll be giving you another update as soon as information comes to hand. In the meantime, thanks so much. Talk soon.